guys, to the third NMRA virtual convention. Gordy has left us Aussie guys in charge for the next 6 hours, so this could be fun. I'm your host, Brad, and I'm joined by Martin here in the studio in the hot seat.
How we doing? We got a couple of surprises for Gordy tonight, I believe.
We sure do. So he'll be nice and tickled by these, I dare say. I just want to let everyone know that we're having a virtual door prize. To enter this, all you've got to do is hit a post on Instagram or Facebook with hashtag NMRAx for the chance to win a $50 gift certificate to Mini Prints. And Mini Prints have some awesome 3D printed details for your layout. To get us started here, because we're ahead of the rest of the world time-wise, I'd just like to give all you American folks the Saturday winning lotto numbers. There are 38, 58, 59, 64, 13 with a Powerball of 21. So you might want to note those down and duck down and grab a ticket later on. So while us Aussies are a skilled bunch with the sandpaper, we're also pretty good with time travel. So we're jumping back into the time machine, heading back 15 hours to the state of Texas, where we're joined by an Eagle Scout, a chairman of the 2023 National Convention. Sorry about that. And I'd like to hand it over to Mackey for some scenery with Florist Foam. Take it away.
Thanks, Brad. How are you guys this morning? I want to welcome everybody to the state of Texas. It's a little early over here. I'm looking at my clock and it says 5:02, and we're going to have a great clinic for anybody that's up and watching with us right now. If you guys have never used regular Florist Foam, and I'm going to just hold this up to the camera here, these blocks, you can find them at any supplier that does floral work. I buy them wholesale by the case for doing these clinics and for anything else. You can take these blocks, and one of the things I do to create terrain and elevation on a layout is glue them together in whatever shape form you have. I've already, through the magic of television, got a couple here that have been hot glued together. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do here and show you guys is the way that you can literally take these and carve them with anything at all. Now, I'm going to switch cameras here just for a second, and we're going to pick up another camera. And let's see here, right here on this camera. Well, I'm saying we're going to switch cameras. It's trying to. There we go. Yeah, come on now, guys. Well, maybe we're not switching cameras then after all. Let's go back to our regular camera. All right, we'll just hold it up. So with this right here, this Florist Foam is extremely easy to carve. Literally, you can, if you wanted to, carve it with a pencil and carve whatever you're doing with it. Now, I've got these two pieces already glued together, and we're going to adjust this down here just like this. There we go. We're going to take this and we're going to carve these two. I'm going to be using this, and we're going to carve a scene. I can use this. I'm going to carve this, and we're going to make a hill here and just carve this Florist Foam away. You can scrape it. You can put whatever you want to and just literally shape your terrain. Now, I'm going to come all the way down here, and where this cut is here, I'm going to shape it. Now, here's another thing that I've used and I've found that's a good way to cut even pink foam is a regular putty knife. And watch how it just slices through this. And you can do this with pink foam as well to shape this And I'm going to come in here and smooth this out where these two pieces are joined together. In the States, a case of the Florist Foam wholesale is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $25. Not very expensive, and you get, I think you get 24 or so blocks of this foam just like this. And so a minute ago, we had a ledge here, but as you can see now, we've actually got a large piece of foam that's got a good piece of terrain on it. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. And the good thing about this foam when you're using it is you can't mess up. You literally cannot mess up. I've done this clinic so many times in a live event as a make and take, and people, once they found out and they can get past the fear of doing scenery because they get intimidated by doing scenery, they find out, well, yeah, I can do that after all. And so we're going to come in here and shape this a little bit more. Now, I'm going to remove all of our leftovers here and drop those. Since we're got Aussies doing the first part of the telecast here, we're going to put this in the rubbish bin. All right. And then now we've got this terrain here that we're going to be working with. Now, what you can do is you can stack these end to end and create whatever you want to, and it's removable if you want to take it off your layout, or just put the hot glue on the bottom of it and pop it down, and now you've got instant terrain. On track side, you can go up, you can go down, you can do whatever you want to. Now I'm going to come in here with this, and we're going to make a cut in here and a terrain cut down through here and lay this open like this and shape it to where we've now got a place where there will be some drainage in here. And literally, you can see how in just 8 minutes, this is really starting to shape up. And let's take this and do something like that and give it a little bit more texture. Now, I'm going to show you another technique here. As I mentioned before, you can take a pencil and carve this. We're going to do that right now. I'm going to take this pencil here, and we're going to actually come in here and do some fine work in here. Just taking the pencil, and you can literally draw your lines in here and carve out your rock face. And if you wanted to have rocks, if you just wanted to have regular terrain, you're good. But I think the lighting may be giving a little bit of a glare right here, but I'm just taking this pencil and adding some detail in here on this piece. just some fine detail that lets it look a little bit more realistic. Let me get this right here. Piece of the glue where they glued together, still stuck in there. But we're going to come in here and make a little hole right in there and make an overhang. So now we've got some actual terrain in here. Do another little overhang on this side. This time I'm using a semblance of a X-Acto knife tool, one of the little heavier blades in here. And just scrape away what you don't want in here. Use your imagination, see what you can come up with. The thing about scenery is, like I said, you cannot mess it up. Don't be bashful about it. You'll get better with practice. And that's the main thing. Practice it and enjoy what you're doing. Use your imagination. See what you can come up with. So I've got, get rid of these things here. All right. Now, I have found, and I don't know if everyone has access to this, but Krylon Camouflage paints, they come in by Rust-Oleum. They have another brand here. If you can see that one, I think this is reversed. I'm not sure. Brad, is this reversed on the camera? Or is it, can you read the labels? You can read the labels just fine? Okay. So these right here are a camouflage type spray can, just a regular rattle can. And we're going to come in here, always use a ventilated area to do this. Luckily, my workbench today has a fan blowing across it, so I won't get too many fumes here. And we're going to spray this and change the color of this right here. This does not attack the foam, as you can see. This is a sand color, what they call their sand. And you can see how now the texture and all the different cuts that I put in there are starting to come to life. Now, another thing I'm going to do is come back in here with a darker color. This particular one is earth brown. And we're going to highlight some stuff in here. Practice and use your textures, use different colors. Get your shadows in here underneath the overhangs and highlight them with the brown, the earth, the darker colors. It doesn't matter whether you start with the light or the dark, you'll still be able to come up with what you're looking for. Let's try this a little. This is a little more of a primer type color, but you want to use your different colors. Now, if I come all the way over this, to me, now that's not really what I want. So in many people's eyes, that would be saying, no, I don't like that at all. Okay, that's great. Let's come back in here and start all over again. So I'm going to come back in here and put that sand back over there. Get that end right there. Come around to this end. Put it in there. And now we're going to come back and hit that earth brown again. And you can see, guys, you really can't mess this up. So now I've got some terrain on there and some color to it. Now the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to add some ground cover. Now there's a lot of different ways to go about the ground cover. You can, some people start from the top and go down. Some people start from the bottom and come up. I've heard a lot of different ways to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to start with some turf and let your paint kind of be some adherence for you and let it hold this turf in. We're going to come back in a few minutes and set it. And I'm just sprinkling this on here very lightly. And that got a little bit too much right there, so I'm going to wipe it off. Now I've got some turf there, and it's starting to get some color to it. I'm now going to come back in here and add some different, this is just a box of extra leftovers that I ended up with whenever I got through doing some work on the layout. I always try to keep these things because you never know when you're going to use it. And let's take some Aleenes. And we're going to just put it up here on here. I'm just going to rub it around with my fingers. Keep a paper towel handy. See how that paint is starting to color up the glue? That's really a good thing, because now I've got some glue that's going to take on the texture and color of the terrain. And I'm going to come back in here and sprinkle some of this leftovers. Just kind of tap it down with my finger. It's got some wood chips in it. That's fine. And this is just a mixture of different colors of foam and ground foam to drop this in here. And now you're starting to see how this is starting to really take shape. And what have we been doing here for 16 minutes now? And we've already got something that's starting to take shape here. Now, I use a lot of different materials whenever I'm doing scenery to try to get different looks and everything of how I'm doing this. One of the things I use is I'll take the ground cover from like Woodland Scenics or other manufacturers, and I'm going to stretch this ground cover out and make it very, very thin. And I'm going to really stretch it out. Now, if you look at that, you can hardly even see the fiber that connects it all. So I'm going to take this. Sometimes I'll leave it a large clump like this. But most of the time when I'm doing crawling vines and things like that, I'm going to come in here and really stretch it thin. And I'm going to let that vine crawl underneath the cut. It's going to be thicker there. Think about where water is going to drain and how the vine is going to crawl towards its nutrition source, the water. And it's going to start to come in here and straighten up just like this. If you're working on your AP, to me, scenery is one of the easiest ones to do. On my trek to get MMR, scenery was one of the first ones I knocked out. And it's really easy to get it knocked out and get that done. Now I'm going to take some smaller tree material here. This is literally material that I got from a dollhouse manufacturer that does dollhouse scenery. So you can use this. This came in a larger clump. And what you may want to do is take it and tear it apart and use it as, I mean, I can literally, if I wanted to, I'm going to take this and snap that branch off. Now I've got two pieces here. We're going to use them to give it some vertical texture. And I'm going to hit that Aleene's again. One of the things I've found for a really good source is when you're finished with your shot glass for your 2 fingers or your shot for the day, then turn it upside down, and it's a great location for your glue right there. At the end, when the glue dries, just reach in there and peel off the glue. So I'm going to come in here and glue this in. Now I'm starting to get some vertical height on this. We're going to let this piece kind of sit up here. I'm going to hide the stem underneath the foliage. Let's see how that's going to fit in there. There we go. All right. Put that in there like that. Never ever get rid of dead tree trunks. Or in this case, here's a place where there's some bushes growing over. And what I've got here is, if I can get my hand in there, I've got some of the ground cover that I had a minute ago that I was using for running vine. Now I've just mixed it in with some pieces of twigs from the yard, and get those twigs and everything and just put them in here, and we're going to glue them down right up here. I'm just going to apply the glue in here, and we're going to let this sit up here on the hillside. Just like that. And now we've got a brush pile on the top of our hill. You can come back in. Here's some more of the material from the dollhouse supply. Now, naturally, this would be a small hedge for a dollhouse. We don't want that much of it. So I'm going to come in here and just break this off. And now we've got a little bush here that's growing. But I like the texture that I'm going to be able to get here with this. And it's going to let me get something not flat, but 3D out of it. Now, I'm going to come back in here. Here's another little small piece of textured material. Same supplier. Get some more glue. The main thing I want to get across to you guys is don't let scenery intimidate you at all. We're going to stick this guy right over here in that cut, just like that. Come back in, take some trees. And now, put that glue back up there. Come back with some cheap hairspray. And when I say cheap, I'm talking about the stuff that your wife or daughter or girlfriend would never, ever buy, because the lacquer in it's so loud, and it doesn't do them any good. It's not what they want. The cheaper, the better, because it's got more sticky in it, if you will, to put that together. And how long did that take us? 20 minutes? 25 minutes?
Hairspray. And when I say cheap, I'm talking about the stuff that your wife or daughter.
Here's another one of these same type scenes that I did at another clinic as an example, and you can see exactly what you're doing. You can add some more rocks in, add a little bit of rock in here. And we'll have some gravel running down through here. Just to add some extra texture. Anything you can add in here for texture and something that's going to attract the eye. That's what you want to do. So, scoot this up a little bit, get it a little bit better in the camera. There you go. Now, you've got your scenery here. These pieces like this are very portable. It's good for doing modules on any scale whatsoever. And you can take them to train shows, whatever. This is a great clinic or example demonstration to do while you're at a train show. You can sit there and literally be making little scenery vignettes. It's great for dioramas. It's also a place, if you've got a long flat stretch across your layout and you want to add some texture to it, you can do that as well. So we've got time for some questions. Anybody have any questions they want to ask? Do we have any questions out there, Brad?
Yeah, we've got a couple out here already.
Okay.
The first one was, how do you control the dust while you're cutting the foam?
It really doesn't have a lot of dust. It's got whatever dust you have normally falls directly straight down. And the foam, how's the word I'm going to look for here? The consistency of the foam makes it more of a particle than it does a dust. And so when you carve it away, you can just vacuum it up or just sweep it away like I did. And I just swept it into the trash can.
Yeah, okay. What about the offcuts? Do you have any uses for those, or how do you use those around your layout?
You can take the offcuts, and when you'd like, if you could, you can glue those back in other places to add more terrain or whatever. So yeah, I'm a fan of trying to salvage anything that you can out of the experiment and when you're doing your cutting. Yeah, sure enough.
Okay. Do you think we could use the same technique for creating concrete with the forest foam?
You can do anything you want to, absolutely. And you can carve cut faces out of it. You can carve tunnel portals. Literally, if you take this and here's a small X-Acto knife here, and we can start carving a rock face, a brick pattern, if you will, and just come in here and carve that brick out. And now I'm going to come back in here and cut the individual bricks in, or rocks, or a stone face, or whatever, and how they're laid in here. And you can literally start carving it any way you want to make anything else. So you're exactly right. Very good question. And this foam is so versatile for things like that. Sure enough. Now, I will tell you, when you get it on your layout, if you've got people that are somewhat less than knowledgeable about how to act or handle things around a layout, this foam is so flimsy that I can literally take my finger and punch into it. So if somebody puts an elbow down or swings around or whatever, they could in fact do some damage here, and you may have to replace that. That's the downside. Okay, but all in all, if I needed to, I could come in here with, this is a tool I picked up at the home repair supply store, and this knife literally will slice this just like this, and I can come in here and cut this out just like this, and now just peel that off. So if you needed to replace something, it's easily patched. All right.
Great. Peter and Michael ask, the first one is, what size do the blocks of foam that you use come in? And the other one is all the foam equal in makeup and quality?
I have found that they are. It's the way that the product is designed to be used by the florist. They put this in the bottom of a flower arrangement. It's pretty uniform. Whenever they are making those floral arrangements, they just stick this in the bottom. It is water soaks into it, and it will keep a plant or a stem, a rose, whatever, that's stuck into it moist, and it will let that cut off stem soak up the water. Now, you ask about size. I'm not going to go metric. This is in standard rule, 8 inches by 3 inches by 8 by 3 by 3. So
in metric terms, it's 200 by 75 by 75 for.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate the translations for everybody else around the world. You know how these Yanks are, you know.
Yeah. Yes. How do you protect the edges, say where it comes up to the edge of your layout and stuff like that, from chipping?
Another good question. I have on my layout, I have a 19 by 39 foot layout just off the camera here. I'm in my train room. I'm lucky enough to have my desk where I work from on a daily basis in my train room. So how many people get to work in their train room every single day? But I have found that people like to set things on the layout, whether it's a soft drink or whatever. They like to set it on the layout. So I have built little trays that I mounted to the fascia that's got a cup holder in it, and it's just a small round desk. It's maybe a foot long, and it's about 6 inches tall. I set that up there. Now, also, I will take clear acrylic, and do a terrain cut if it's down beside the layout, so that's going to protect that edge. To answer the question directly, it's going to protect that edge of the layout to keep that foam from chipping off and doing like that. Now, another thing that's good about this is, and this is in the other one, you notice that the tops of this have in fact had that same problem that the question refers to. It's got some chipping up here. That's very easily rectified. You just come in here. If it's got a chip on it, okay, let that be part of the terrain, and then just come back in here and hit it with the paint and put some ground foam over it, and nobody ever knows it's chipped because it's now repaired again.
Nice. Do you have any problems with moisture? Based on that it absorbs water pretty well, that foam, and is it a problem using acrylic paints due to that reason?
None whatsoever. It's when it soaks up the water, it normally wicks from the bottom. I don't. My layout is in a environmentally controlled area in my home, in my second story of our house. I don't have a lot of moisture that's going to seep in here humidity wise or anything like that. So I've never found a problem. I've used this technique on museum layouts, on commercial layouts that I build. you go to mikesroundhouse.com, you can see some of the work that we've done. That is my company. We build layouts. We do that for people all across. Literally, we've built layouts from Los Angeles to Atlanta and all across the state of Texas. I've got myself and several other MMRs that work together, and we do layouts. We've used this technique on a lot of different layouts in different locations. Houston is one of the highest humidity areas in the States. It rains at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for about 15 minutes, and the high heat doesn't do anything but just send that moisture that once it rains and hits the concrete down there, it just turns into a fog, and it's just horrible humidity there. And in that environment in Houston and Galveston, the layouts that I've worked on down there, the Galveston Train Museum is literally on the island right next to the ocean, and no problems whatsoever.
Okay. Can we just quickly retouch, because I know everyone out there likes to know the products exactly now that they've seen the clinic. So can we just touch on the brands of all the products, paints, glues, and stuff like that used?
Yeah, the Florist Foam, it's just a generic Florist Foam. I don't even know the brand. I just go in and it's just got a box, and I don't even see the box it came in now. But it's just a generic Florist Foam, and I wish I could be more specific than that, but it's available at any place that go look at in your local area for florist supply, and you'll be able to find it really easy. You can do that, or go to a florist shop and ask them, where do you get your supplies? I need some Florist Foam, and it's really inexpensive, and it's easy to use. The products, a lot of the stuff that I use as far as ground cover is Woodland Scenics or other comparable ground cover material. The paints, again, this is the Rust-Oleum Camouflage. This is the earth brown to give it the darker color for shading. I used Rust-Oleum red primer, flat red primer. Okay, and so again, these are just rattle cans. This one is a satin taupe. I just go to the paint section and just start looking at the colors of the tops for different shades of earth colors, earth tones. This is another one this is a Krylon brand of Camouflage, and this one is sand. And I've got in my paint collection, here's another sand here that's the same brand here. I've probably got 12 or 14 different earth tones that I'll use at any one time on any section. If I'm doing a large section of a layout or brickwork or whatever, I'll put layer upon layer upon layer of these colors, because if you go outside and you look at a cut, or if you look at anything that we're trying to model where you can see the earth, it's got shades, subtle shades everywhere that is going to catch the eye. It's not all one color. So layer those shades on top of each other and layer your textures of your materials so that you get something that looks very realistic when you're doing your scenery. It's it's hard for you to tell in the lighting, but there's probably, because of the mixtures of the paint. And if you'll remember, during the clinic, I intentionally went over this with that red primer and messed up, if you will, the coloring on there. But you could never tell that I did that if you look at this piece. Okay, so I intentionally did something and did a screw up on it so that everyone could understand you cannot mess this up. Okay, it is a great tool for beginners. And here's another thing with this Florist Foam, like you have it here. Okay, you can practice off layout your techniques and your skills before you go in and try to apply it to your layout. Does that make sense? So you can hone your skills in a safe environment before you're trying to do it on your final product. And that's invaluable. And I mean, we just sit here and did this on my work desk. I mean, it's really easy to do, and I thought it turned out pretty well. What do you guys think?
I think it looks good, very simple and easy. There was a comment here in the chat. Could you use the PVA to help stop chipping of the edges?
I guess that's a possibility. Yeah. Anything that you could put on there to help give it some stability would certainly be to your advantage.
And the only other question,
I've never used that. I will add that. Okay.
The only other question I can see straight up now is, how many coats of hairspray did you put down to help hold everything in place?
Well, I didn't put any on this one because the hairspray is just out of reach, and I didn't want to get up and go off camera. I should have had it here with me. But normally, just soak it in there pretty good with one coat. If you need to come back and add it, you can normally come up and touch it with your finger and see if it's movable. If it is, you may want to hit it again. But normally, one coat normally does it.
Okay. Martin, did I miss anything, or you have any further questions there?
Just a hot glue gun that's got the sticks that melt. You know, any hobby store's got or hobby supply store, like a craft store where women would buy anything to do crafting with, or sequins, beads, that kind of stuff. You just use a hot glue gun with the sticks like that. Yeah. Guys, for that matter. I'm not going to be gender specific. Oh, no. Now let me share with you. Okay, don't do that, because she's got her divorce lawyer on speed dial on her phone. You just don't know it yet. And that guy or girl from Dewey, Cheatham and Howe is going to be calling you and serving you papers so quick it'll make your head spin. Okay, so don't steal it. Don't steal it from your wife or your girlfriend, a significant other. Also, don't go in and steal their makeup brushes if you're trying to use and do weathering techniques. They frown on that too. Okay, I'm just telling you. Go to the beauty supply store and buy your own. You can do that. You know,
it's safer. It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot safer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks for that, Craig. I forgot to hit that button again. So yeah, the last questions that I asked Mike there, which was how he glued the blocks of foam together. No one in Streamland heard. Everybody here heard, but not in Streamland. So hopefully now I've hit the right button.
The type of glue is just any kind of a hot glue gun, hot glue that comes in the stick and goes through the hot glue gun. It's just universal type. Yeah.
And it doesn't melt the foam when you apply it?
I beg your pardon? Say again?
It doesn't melt the foam when you apply it?
It does not. It does not. In fact, it will sit on the top of the foam and start to set up, and then you can plate those pieces of foam and put them together, and they adhere really quickly.
Cool.
And it's stable too. I have literally taken more than one block like this and glued them together and used them to support things. I mean, if I'm trying to compress this right now, I can't compress it together. I mean, it's stable. So you can literally use this to support other items. If you want to do a build-up for a building area where you wanted to do some elevation changes, this is perfect for that. Again, it's lightweight. It's got a lot of good uses. Let your imagination be your guide. It has been a lifesaver in construction, in design, in scenery applications, anything like that. It's real easy to make a cut. If you're using a water technique, you can do that, make a waterfall and then cut back underneath it to where the waterfall would come off. As you've seen a lot of different places try to do that. This stuff is really amazing. Not a lot of people think about using this for whatever reason, but I kind of stumbled onto it, and it works very, very well.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
So I've got a question, Mike. I've got a layout,
Sure.
probably 50 square feet of scenery needed. Do you have somewhere that we could buy this wholesale in bulk?
If you have got a tax ID number in the States, is the way it works. I don't know how it is in other countries, and we're literally global with this broadcast, so I can't address every single municipality and how that would work. But if in the States, if you've got a tax ID number and can go to a wholesale supply store, they're going to ask you for your tax ID number, and you can get it wholesale. That was the way I was getting it because of my layout construction company. I, in fact, had that tax ID number. So I just went in and told them I need a case of the Florist Foam. And in fact, the place where I get this, I just know where they keep it, and I go over and pick up a case or two and go walking out up to the front desk for checkout. So, it's one of those things.
Okay.
And
by all means, buy it wholesale if you can. Sure.
Yeah. And we have got a question here from Hassano. I'm not going to attempt the surname because I'll just kill that. But he was asking, is there any particular temperature spec for the hot glue sticks?
No, whatever will melt in your gun. Different guns have different temperature settings on them. Just make sure that the stick matches your gun. Whenever you squeeze it, it's going to melt it at the right temperature for that particular gun. So that would be a particular that you need to know going in for the purchase based off of the equipment you have. Or you can just go to the craft store and buy a hot glue gun. And many times in the packaging, they'll already have some sticks in there if you don't own a hot glue gun. I've found a hot glue gun to be extremely beneficial whenever I'm doing rock work to help glue that to the base of what I'm working with. If I've got castings or things like that, or I built a rock wall, an entire cut seam that was probably 10.5 feet long, about 1.5 feet, 18 inches tall. And then it was probably maybe 10 inches deep. So it was long, flat, and tall. And I took that hot glue gun and literally made my castings and fit them all together, and then came back in there with my spray cans and sprayed in, got my textures the way I wanted it, and then added everything else in there to make those cuts and everything. So a hot glue gun is invaluable whenever you're doing some work. If you don't own one, go get one.
Okay. And I think we got a final question. I think it's coming here from it's from Tony in Lismore, and he's asking, can you cut it with a hot wire or a hot knife?
You can, but you don't have to. I've found it easier to just use a putty knife or X-Acto knife or another X-Acto type blade or a pencil or one of these. The hot knife, I mean, you can use that, but I didn't see the necessity of it because it's so easily cut otherwise.
Okay. Have you found that the foam breaks down and goes brittle over time?
I've seen none of that. It's another good question. I've seen none of that. It holds its shape. It does not go brittle. I don't know if it's UV sensitive. So if you're going to use it in a garden railroad environment, I don't know if that's the case you may be encountering. You might, and if you're using it outdoors, you always stand the chance that if it rains, it's going to soak up some water. So now it will dry right back out. I will tell you that if it does, in fact, soak up some water, because that's just the nature of the product. The water will naturally dry up and go away. So if you do spill something on it or it gets wet, don't fret. It's going to be fine. But I don't know what it would be like in a garden railroad setting. I'll give that qualification.
Okay.
Well, I think that's all the questions I can see in the chat. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything that I've seen come up.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well,
I wanna take one final thing, if you don't mind, Brad and Martin.
go for it.
I know that this pandemic that we're all suffering worldwide has got everybody locked down, and it caused the this year's national convention to be postponed or canceled. I'm looking forward to being in Santa Clara next year. I don't know what the conditions are for 2022 yet, based off the fact that the people in Birmingham had to withdraw. But I would want to go on and invite everyone to come to the 2023 convention in Dallas Fort Worth. It's the first time we've ever had a convention here. I am the convention chair, along with our division. Division 1 of the Lone Star region is putting that convention on in conjunction with Division 3 of the Lone Star region. Donna Orr is a co-chair with me on that project. Look forward to having everybody there. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a week long of things that we're going to have so many things on that convention agenda that you will not be able to do them all. Trust me, I will tell you that. And we want to make sure that everybody comes to that. Also, if you're interested in anything else that we're doing in our division, I invite you to go to Cowcatcher Division. And I'll move this out of the way. And here in the background, you can see cowcatcherdivision.org is our division website. We have past examples of our newsletter. We put out a monthly newsletter in our division. We've got about 168 people in our division. We're very active. We're doing a lot of good things. And we are going to start streaming our meetings when we get back to a face-to-face environment. We'll start streaming all of our meetings online with a Zoom, or recording them and YouTube. We're going to start recording them and posting them on our YouTube channel. And you can find a link to that on our website. So go on out there, look at cowcatcherdivision.org. We invite that, and we'd love to. We had a Zoom meeting for a division meeting 2 weeks ago, and we had literally, it was a worldwide broadcast. We had a person from Kuwait City. Gordy joined us from Scotland. We had people in Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Arizona, and California, all to our division meeting. So would invite anybody else that wants to let us know. Would like to have you. Oh,
you never know. You might get a couple of Aussies dropping in now.
No problem at all. It starts. Our meetings start at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So I'll let you figure out the time difference.
Oh, that might be a bit early in the morning. And talking about streaming on different formats, for all of those out in Facebook land, we now are streaming live into YouTube. So if you want to go and turn on your smart TV and lie on the couch and watch the rest of the NMRAx shows, they should be all on live stream on YouTube as well, on the NMRA channel. So we're now got the technology. It actually ran this clinic all the way through, so I feel confident that we can get through the next 11 hours. What do you reckon, Brad?
Look, as long as we get through the next 5, I'll be happy. Yeah, the rest can be Gordon's problem.
That's right. We hand it over to Gordy at halftime, and then he can take over. Okay, thanks very much, Mike. I don't think I got anything else. What about you, Brad?
Nah, thanks, Mike, for a great clinic. Very
and Brad, it's Mike, not Mark.
Mike, sorry.
I've been called a lot worse by a lot better people, Brad. I'm going to tell you. All right.
Not a problem. Well, we'll be back in about 5 minutes or so with Jerry Hopkins from New South Wales in Australia, with some more layouts from around the area. So I'll hit the buttons here and we'll be back shortly.
Bye-bye.